Hey, it's been a little while since I've done a vlog. Well, not too long, but a lot has happened. And one of my best friends, her sister's best friend, had a suicide attempt the other day. It was only, I think, 2 or 3 days ago. It feels longer just because I'm only hearing about it over the phone and through text, which is really hard because she's having such a rough time with it. And this is a friend that I mean, she's been my best friend for like 15 years. So we're talking my best, really good long-term friend. And I can't be there for her. I've met this girl a few times. She even came down to South Carolina and stayed with us for a couple days when they all came to visit for a vacation. So I've met her, but I don't really know her. She is being treated for depression, but they switched her medication to a new antidepressant, which is a really, really unstable and really critical time, because just the way antidepressants work is that it can cause those kind of thoughts and those kinds of actions when you switch to a new one. They all affect the brain a little bit differently. They affect different types of brain chemicals. Some will raise your dopamine, some block your dopamine, and there's no way for them to know what the chemical balance is in order to give you the right medication. It's just kind of a trial and error thing. And it's always very critical time when you first start on a new antidepressant, when you're weaning off and when you're starting on. Very critical times. But in addition to that, she's also been drinking a lot, and that's always a bad combination. You should never drink, at least not heavily, when you're on antidepressants. Simply, I mean, because alcohol is a depressant. So if you're depressed, it's going to make it worse. Even though it might make you feel better at the moment, it's really not. It's knocking out your inhibitions, but it's a depressant and it's bringing you down even if you don't realize it. I mean, you can have a drink now and then, but drinking every night, getting drunk every night when you're on antidepressants is such a bad plan. Not only for just med interaction, but because it will exacerbate and exaggerate any sort of suicidal or self-injurious impulses. Weaning off old antidepressants, getting on new antidepressants, and drinking too much. Plus whatever stress she had going on in her life, but I'm not going to go into her personal life and what some of her personal stressors were, because that's private. I just want to talk about things that can be relatable to anyone in this situation. But it was this combination of the medication, drinking, and then personal stressors that caused this to happen. It was an intentional overdose of her medication plus alcohol. So there's always the chance of renal failure, which is the kidneys. The kidneys process most of those types of medications, so if you flood it with crap, they just get overloaded and they shut down. She had some aspiration, which means she had some fluid go into the lungs, so it was most likely she vomited and then aspirated. And problem with that is not only pneumonia, because that's right away pneumonia. She's in a compromised state, so she's going to get pneumonia. There's also the fact that she was without oxygen. If you have stuff in your lungs and you're not getting air and the oxygen's not getting into your blood, you're going to have most likely some level of brain damage. So even if she does come out of this, she may very well have severe brain damage or minor brain damage. It could go either way. She also somehow managed to get into the bathroom and fall, and she broke both of her arms. I mean, it's one of the worst suicide attempts I've ever heard of, just in terms of compounding issues with it. They've, of course, moved her from my hometown down to the cities to get to the better hospitals. And my friend and her sister went down there, and it just makes me feel so bad that I can't be there for my friend, even though she told me that I've been so helpful just being on the phone with her. Okay, I don't want to cry, but she sent me this big text telling me she loves me and she appreciates me and how much I help her even though I can't be there, and she knows that I would like to be there. So it's good that people in my life understand that I wish I could do more, and that I would if I could. But if you have these types of issues, if you have depression, even if you're being treated for it, it's not a magical Dumbo's magic feather. You still need to monitor what's going on with you. You still need to be vigilant. You need to know that you can't mix certain medications. You can't have alcohol all the time. You need to understand your condition. It's just like any other disease. It's just that instead of physical manifestations of symptoms, most of these are emotional, intellectual, and behavioral. But it's like any other disease. You need to be aware of the signs that things are going wrong. It's like if you have diabetes, you need to be aware. You need to recognize, okay, I'm feeling kind of dizzy and out of it. I better check my blood sugar. Or I'm really lethargic, and I kind of feel like I need to pass out. I should check my blood sugar. It's things like that. You need to be aware of what your disease entails. And I know a lot of it is this stigma still involved with mental illness, which it's getting better. People are starting to understand that it's not just a lack of willpower, or that you're a weak person, or that you're attention seeking. You shouldn't be shamed for it. And if somebody tries to shame you, tell them to fuck off. You have a disease. You have basically what it is mental diabetes. You have an imbalance that you need to keep in check. And if you're thinking about hurting yourself, really, and you think nobody cares about you, it's not true. There's always somebody who cares about you. And even if you're at the hospital alone, the people who care about you are the doctors who are going to be working on you. Because one of the doctors that worked on her up at my hometown, she had the weekend off after they moved her, so she went down to the cities to visit her at the other hospital. That's how much she cared. And so even if you think nobody in your immediate surroundings cares about you, whoever is going to end up helping you when you make these attempts, they're going to care. I've only met this girl once or twice. She's not even within my circle, like my social circle. I don't really know her, but I still care. There's always somebody who's going to care and be affected. Just be aware of your disease and understand that you're never alone. Your actions are always going to affect somebody else. And if nothing else, think about the person who has to find you, because her mother found her. And I can't think of anything worse to do to your mother. And I'm not saying that she was selfish. I'm saying she wasn't right, but she wasn't thinking clearly. But if you get to that point, think about who's going to find you and what that's going to do to them. Also, if nothing else, think about what you're going to miss out on. If I had offed myself when I was really depressed when I was a teenager, I never would have met my sister's kids. I never would have known that they existed. I would be nothing to them but a name. They wouldn't know me. I would just be the Aunt Jessica who killed herself before they were born. They wouldn't have any clue of who I am or anything. I wouldn't know them. I wouldn't love them, and they bring so much joy in my life. So there's always something to hold out for. Understand someone always cares, and someone is always going to be affected, and you have the power to help yourself just by asking for help, which can be really hard. I've done it myself. I've dealt with depression for years, but asking for help is the most important aspect. It's the most important thing you can do for yourself. And there's always somebody who's going to help you, somebody who's going to care, someone who's going to be affected, and somebody who can help you. It's never a hopeless situation, even though it feels that way sometimes. I certainly know I was depressed for a very long time. But don't put yourself through that. Don't put other people through that, because there's a way around it. There's a way, there's hope. There always is. And if you're dealing with these issues and you feel like you can't talk to anybody else, send me a message. I'll talk to you about it. That's fine. I've dealt with it myself. I've studied it in school. I have a friend who's severely bipolar, and I help her. I'm like a sounding board. When she's like not sure if she's thinking straight, she talks to me. You can, send me a message, because I care. I care immensely. Even though I've never really met you, don't know what you're about, I care if you hurt yourself. I honestly do. So send me a message if you feel like there's nobody else that you can talk to. Alright? And if not, reach out for help in your real life. Alright, why don't you guys take care of yourselves. Love.